All right, hey guys, today we're going to talk about how America goes from being isolationist, meaning off to ourselves, we're not getting involved in war, to in fact leading the charge into war. So, what makes the difference? All right, so we're going to talk about how is cash and carry program a part of our early neutrality deal? When, where, and what time did Japan attack the U.S.? And if we have time, we'll talk about the Korematsu case. Okay, so this title's fitting. We go from being isolated and off to ourselves and staying out of it to war. So, why are we so isolated? Why do we not want to get involved? So, you have to remember we're coming from the Depression time. So, we cling to this isolationism for two reasons. One, we needed to solve all our problems here at home. You've already learned about those problems. We've got massive unemployment. We've got all sorts of financial issues. People are depressed. People are looking for work, can't find it. We got people going hungry, standing in bread lines. So we have enough problems. And we're thinking, why would we go looking for more? So why would we even think about getting involved in the war? Also, because the horrors of World War I are still very real to us. I mean, keep in mind, this is the late 30s. Okay, here's 35. So we were talking about World War I around 1914, 1915. So it really hasn't been that long. These people are still living that have had someone in their family serve, and they know how bad it can be. So anyway, Congress passes a series of neutrality acts. So we're going to be neutral, and we're going to do that with cash and carry. So cash and carry is we could trade weapons with fighting nations as long as they paid cash and transported the goods themselves. So if they come over, they pay cash, wherever they're from, they pay cash, we will give them the weaponry. We're not going to discriminate between countries. So whoever shows up with cash, we will fund them. That's cash and carry. It's neutral because it didn't matter to us who they were. So when France falls to Germany, however, and Hitler's sitting in Paris, we start rethinking this position because now it looks like the Germans are going to march all over Europe. And maybe this might, in fact, affect us because of our economy, because Europe's not going to buy our things, and also because the Germans are then going to set their sights on us. So we decide to sort of break this neutrality and start giving aid to Britain, our closest ally. The America First Committee is formed because they start to see us inching closer to war by helping Britain, and they don't want that. So this is a good example of freedom of speech compared to World War I, where we had sedition acts where you could not even speak out against the government. Remember Schenck versus U.S., you're put in jail. Again, you couldn't speak out against the government, you couldn't speak out against the president, you couldn't speak out against the war. Now these people are going to be anti-war and able to proclaim that without being arrested. Charles Lindbergh is among them. Charles Lindbergh, Spirit of St. Louis fame, the pilot. So he'll be part of this and put a face on this movement that makes it even more popular. So here's an example of cash and carry. Help the Allies now to win. So our men will never be necessary. Cash and carry. Okay. Here's America First, the protesters against the war. And they've got an interesting post here, Save Our Sons. No convoys, no war, no death to American boys. Join America First Committee. Okay, so that's that. All right, let me just go to the next sheet and show you. November 1940, like Wilson did, FDR wins re-election, promising he would not send any boys into a foreign war. He, however, does say he would aid the Allies. But he says, we're not going to get involved other than providing weaponry and supplies. We're not going to send our boys into a foreign war. Remember, Wilson said he kept us out of the war. So FDR is going to promise that he's not going to send boys in. The problem was that Britain's almost bankrupt. I mean, they're fighting off the Germans. I remember Battle of Britain, and Churchill, who was the Prime Minister of Britain at the time, asked FDR, "Please send us supplies. I know we cannot pay for them, but we will pay for it after the war." So he's basically asking us for a favor. Congress agrees and passes the Lend-Lease Act. This undoes our previous act, cash and carry. Cash and carry was neutral. It didn't matter who wanted the weapons, we would sell them as long as they paid cash. This says we will lend or lease materials to anyone as long as they are our ally. So like Britain at the time of the Soviet Union, many other nations. So the president can aid any nation whose defense was vital to our security. In other words, making sure that they're safe from Germans also helps us, so we'll help them. Okay, a picture of Lend-Lease right here. This is pretty cool chart. Here's Great Britain, United Kingdom. You see how many in the millions of dollars products we have sent over there. Munitions, industrial products, ag products. Even the Soviet Union we're helping out. So we're helping a lot of folks here with Lend-Lease to our allies and people we think are on our side. And we're spending the millions of dollars hoping that they'll pay it back. All right. So far we do not yet have boots on the ground. Okay. We're getting closer to that by helping the British. Then everything changes. All right. So, on the morning of Sunday, December 7th, shortly after 7 a.m., 1941, the Japanese will attack Pearl Harbor. So General Tojo Hideki of Japan supports a war with the United States. Remember, they're all about gobbling up areas. They've taken Manchuria. He's ready to drag the United States in because he thinks he can beat us. He becomes prime minister. Here he is, Tojo Hideki. And we succumb to their attack. It basically tells you here an American radar operator on Oahu, which is an island in Hawaii, sees a blip on the radar. He really thinks it's friendly fire, meaning he thinks it's one of our planes coming in. And it's just sailing in, not firing it. And then all of a sudden the radar goes crazy. And he sees so many planes and he knows something is wrong. Interestingly, they choose to attack on a Sunday morning, which at that time in American life, a lot of people went to church. So this is a military base, so they may not necessarily have gone to chapel, but they're going to be sleeping in a little later than normal because it's not a typical work day. So a lot of these sailors are going to be asleep when this happens. The attacks headed for Pearl Harbor, which was our Navy base, remember, that we acquired during our imperialist time. So, in less than an hour, 180 Japanese warplanes attack. In less than 2 hours, 2,400 Americans are dead, 1,200 wounded, 200 U.S. planes are damaged, and 18 warships damaged. It's huge, massive loss of life. But even bigger than that is the hit that is placed upon our Navy. They really, really do us in here by hitting all of these munitions. So it's not good for us. FDR is going to have a famous statement. He will speak to Congress and he will call this day a date which will live in infamy, meaning it will be infamous. It will always bring terror to Americans' hearts. After September 11th, most people called that, September 11th, 2001, our generation's Pearl Harbor. Okay, so this generation living through it, it would just be massive blow to them to know that we could be subjected to such violence. So December 8th, FDR speaks to Congress. So I want to show you a clip of that. Here's a picture first, though, of the attack at Pearl Harbor. Really awful. So that's that. And I want you to listen to this. I think it's particularly cool that now we're getting into presidents where we can listen to their radio addresses. So here's one of them, FDR, speaking directly to Congress.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. The United States was at peace with that nation.
But they're not anymore. That's going to be a major declaration of war. So Congress will declare war. And in return, it says Germany and Italy declare war on us on December the 11th. So we start mobilizing. And we have Selective Training and Service Act, which required all men to register ages 21 to 36 for military service. I want to show you this really cool primary source document from my grandfather. This is his, it says from the President of the United States. There's his name, J.C. Paul Carter. And it says, this is what I want you to see, if I can show you. Selective Service System. I can't tell if you can see that. This is his paper that said where he needed to report for his pre-induction physical exam. And the date of it is February 1944. So he's being told he needs to show up for his physical exam to be part of the selective service, which we would call the draft. U.S. soldiers are going to be called GIs, government issue, because they're issued everything that they own. Thousands of women volunteer, especially Yvette Culp Hobby, who becomes very famous running WAC, Women's Army Corps. And I have some pictures of that. Here she is. Okay. All right. So, last page. We have lots of people volunteer. Mexican Americans volunteer. Native Americans volunteer. African Americans fight in segregated units here in this war. But they're fighting for the Double V campaign, victory in Europe against fascism, victory at home against racism. And the Tuskegee Airmen are part of that. They were in a segregated air unit, but very, very famous and effective fighter pilots. That's a cool picture of them. All right, so we have the War Production Board, war mobilization, basically converting everything into war materials, war production, rationing, everything is going to run through them, just like it did World War I. So in a way, World War I helps us prepare for World War II because the government already knows what to do. This is interesting. By 1944, U.S. production levels double all the Axis nations combined. So this pulls us out of the Great Depression. The New Deal was significant in that, but this war is what does it, because we are really producing faster than it is even believable. So on the home front, changes everywhere. People have more jobs, so they have more cash. Rosie the Riveter. So women are filing into factories to work for their husbands and brothers and fathers, and they're working on their behalf. This is a very famous poster. We can do it. Her nickname is Rosie the Riveter. And so this is very famous. You see, it says down here, War Production Coordinating Committee. So they're putting out these posters to encourage women to volunteer to work. Some items you just can't find, like metal, everything's going for weaponry, rubber, everything's going for tires, now stockings, even for parachutes. Other items were ration. A rationing book was a coupon book. So I have another treasure, which is my grandmother's rationing book from 1944. And it's even cooler on the inside. You can see where she ripped off rationing stamps for sugar. And there's other stamps in here that she didn't use. This looks like bread, wheat is on there. So you got us all these stamps, and you got one a month, and her name is written on it, which is cool to me. And Anyway, once you used all your coupons inside, you couldn't buy anything else.